The majority leader, Honorable Osei Chimen-Sabonsu, has reiterated his call to the Electoral Commission not to abandon the use of indelible ink in the 2024 general elections. The Electoral Commission has suggested abandoning the use of indelible ink in the December polls, a proposal strongly opposed by the minority caucus in Parliament. Aligning with the minority stance, the majority leader highlighted concerns about the potential misuse of the electoral process if indelible ink is not used. He pointed out that without indelible ink, individuals might vote in one region and then move to another to vote, exploiting the lack of synchronization in the election management body's database.
Signaling not to use indelible ink in the next elections. Mr. Speaker, I raised a matter after the conduct of the disassembly elections, and I agree with my colleague that they may have to revisit the matter, in particular because the database of the Electoral Commission, as far as some of us do know, don't talk to one another. The database for the regions talk to themselves. So you cannot vote in, let's say, Swami, and then run to Ofenso North to vote. You'll be caught because there is synchronized, but they don't go beyond the regions. So it is possible for one person to vote in Accra and dash to Bole to cast his or her vote. So, Mr. Speaker, to that extent, to the extent that the database is not talking to, in the various regions are not talking to themselves, it's important that we further guarantee any abuse, preventing any abuse of the system by resorting to the use of indelible ink. In the course of the MPP elections, the indelible ink was applied. What, however, I saw was that the ink that was applied was not fast enough. You could easily rub it. So we are appealing to the Electoral Commission to reintroduce it and also ensure that the ink that they apply is very fast.
Before making the statement, the minority leader, Dr. Kasil Atoforsin, has also expressed grave concerns about the potential consequences of EC's decision, warning that it could lead to chaos at polling stations across the country. He urged for the decision to be reversed immediately. Addressing Parliament at the commencement of the fourth session of the 8th Parliament, Dr. Atoforsin stressed that the National Democratic Congress would vehemently oppose the EC's move. He explained that the use of indelible ink is vital for ensuring the integrity of elections, as it provides a visible and transparent means of verifying voters in addition to biometric verification.
The announcement by the Electoral Commission that it is doing away with indelible ink from the electoral process must be of great concern to all of us in this chamber. Right, Honourable Speaker, this announcement by the Electoral Commission constitutes an attack on the integrity of Ghana's electoral process and poses a great danger to our democracy. This Electoral Commission enjoys taking unwholesome decisions, being disruptive, fancies courting public disaffection, and enjoys being roundly condemned by right-thinking Ghanaians. The use of indelible ink in our electoral process does no harm to the conduct of free and fair elections in the Republic of Ghana. In fact, indelible inks add another layer to the integrity of the elections by ensuring that voters are visibly, transparently, and physically verified in addition to the biometric verification system. Indelible ink has not only become a feature of our elections in the Fourth Republic, but is also a time-tested method of easily identifying persons who have already cast their ballot and therefore helps to easily prevent multiple voting. It also helps in building confidence in the conduct of elections and add to the credibility and integrity of our elections. The fact that biometric verification devices is part of the electoral process is not good enough reason for the Electoral Commission to do away with the indelible ink. This is because, Mr. Speaker, when the biometric verification device fails, indelible ink on the voter's finger provides the surest way to identify a person who has already voted. Mr. Speaker, we will not countenance the elimination of the indelible ink from the electoral process. We will not. And let the Electoral Commission read our lips. We will not. Mr. Speaker, touch wood. We will not allow the electoral process to be done without indelible ink.
The former Deputy Finance Minister and the MP for Agyapong, Enyan Esiam, also issued a firm warning to the Electoral Commission, stating that NDC will not support any proposal to alter the scheduled date for the 2024 elections. Dr. Attoforsen stressed the importance of upholding established electoral practices to safeguard the credibility and fairness of the electoral process.
General elections on the horizon. The Electoral Commission and those behind it has announced their intention to change the date of this general election from December to November. Let me say it here and now that the NDC Minority Caucus in Parliament will not support any change at this time. We will not support the change of the date from December to November for elections. This is because there are more pertinent and pressing issues that require the immediate attention of the Electoral Commission than a change of date for the general election. As I speak, Mr. Speaker, the Electoral Commission is yet to release the calendar for the 2024 election. The EC must focus on all its energy and attention on the provision of the 2024 election calendar than a change of date. Mr. Speaker, if the Electoral Commission decides to embark on a comprehensive and meaningful reforms after the 2024 elections, in consultation with political parties and other faith-based organizations, Mr. Speaker, we, the NDC minority in Parliament, may reconsider our position. But in the meantime, Mr. Speaker, we stand opposed to the change of the date for elections and all reforms that has been proposed by the Electoral Commission. For now, we will not support the Electoral Commission's decision to change the date for the 2024 general elections.
Chairman of the National Media Commission, Boedu Ayeboafo, has disagreed with the Ghana Journalists Association's decision to blacklist people who were alleged to have assaulted journalists while in the line of duty. He said the call for boycott or blackouts by the GJA would not be productive or functional to the public interest. Mr. Boedu Ayeboafo was commenting on a recent directive by the GJA to blacklist 2 members of parliament of the New Patriotic Party, Mavis Hihawa Kumsin of Ewutisenya East and Farouk Aliu Mahama of Yendi, for their alleged attack on journalists during the recent primaries of the party. The NMC chairman was delivering the keynote address at a one-day training workshop organized by the GJA with support from the U.S. Embassy for journalists from the Ashanti, Puno, Ahafo and Bono East regions on promoting peaceful journalistic media platforms ahead of the election 2024. Mr. Boedu Ayeboafo condemned the violent attack on journalists for exercising their public obligation of informing our people, which he said had resulted in an equally unilateral decision of the GJA calling for a boycott or blackout on such people. He added that while the approach by the GJA was popular, it is dysfunctional. According to Mr. Boedu Ayeboafo, it was not enough to condemn such acts, but to encourage victims to seek redress by reporting to the mechanism for the safety of journalists under the NMC and the Ghana Police Service. That, according to him, was to ensure that the media freedom aspect as well as the criminal dimension adequately investigated and the necessary legal penalties imposed on the criminals. He said he would support any effort to ensure that justice is done against all such deviant acts and added that condemning such acts is in order, but not the boycott.
4 more suspects have been picked up by the police in connection with the killing of the owner of the safari resort in Jirapa in the Upper West region, commonly referred to as Jirapa, Dubai. This brings the number of suspects picked up by the police to 5. They are all staff of the hotel and safari park. The suspects have been named by the police as Dukuri Fausta, Brima Kasim, Bayuo Felix, and Michael Kluji, who are all workers at the Cozy Hill Hotel. They are in police custody assisting the investigation, together with suspect Kumbata Kweku, who was arrested earlier. Police investigations are continuing to bring the perpetrator to face justice, the police said in a press statement on Sunday. Eric Johnson was reportedly stabbed to death on Saturday night. Eric Johnson recently built the Royal Cozy Hills Hotel, nicknamed Jirapa Dubai, in the Upper West region. At least 2 people were confirmed dead after protests were held across Senegal on Friday, 9th February 2024. Demonstrators were not allowed to gather and groups were dispersed by security forces. The victims, confirmed so far, 2 men in their 20s, were killed in St. Louis and in Dakar, according to local media reports. The victim in St. Louis